Okay, so I recently programmed Uno in Java. The way the whole thing works is it has all these different classes, from add player names down through Uno deck. It starts off with the most main class, which it's calling Uno because of some things that Apache is requiring me to do. And basically all that does is it runs the main function and then opens the menu window. And in menu, it has the name of the game, and then its play button and exit button. And what those do over here is exit, will just close the whole system, and play will open the add player names window. In the add player names window, it has a little bit more going on. It starts off just telling you to add the players' names. You can add them into this box here, and then it has all these boxes already set for where the names will go afterward. And that looks like this. The save button has all this stuff going on to make sure that it's working right. If the input box is empty, then it just has this happen. It'll tell the user to please enter a name. If it's not empty, then it will add the name in the input box to the player ID's string that it has set up here. And then down here, it will go ahead and reload those boxes for displaying the names of the players. And it's up to 8. And then after it's done that, it checks to make sure that the number of players in the boxes is not empty and it's less than 9. If that is true, then it'll let the person know that the save was successful. If it's not true, and it's greater than or equal to 9, then it'll remove that name that was just added, and it will let the player that's inputting stuff know that it's only up to 8 players. Moving on, when you click the Done button, it'll make sure that there's at least 2 players in that list so that the game can actually work properly. And if there is not at least 2 players, then it'll let them know there has to be at least 2 players. Otherwise, it'll open the game stage window. Inside the game stage window, it has this, where it shows off what the current top card is, a draw button, and then all these buttons down here for showing what is in your hand. And then it also has something down here to let you know whose hand you're looking at the moment. And this one is definitely the most complicated window. When it starts up, it has all of these things that it has to set up. The player names, an array list that's just temporary and can probably be gotten rid of. I don't think I'm using this anymore, actually. This, that, and then this is the game class, where it actually holds all of the information about what's happening in the game. The card buttons, a window for a pop-up menu, and this last discard item here. When it's initialized, it takes player IDs as an array list from here. That's what it's giving there. And then it just populates the PID's string that it has with this. And then it goes ahead and runs the set pin name and set button icons. What set pin name does is it just changes that text at the bottom down here to show the current player's name. What set button icons does is it goes through, looks at that player's name, and sets all of the card buttons to show what's currently in their hand there. And then at that point, the player can choose choose a card to play, or if they just want to draw. All of the card buttons look like this. The only difference inside of them is this index modifier. 0 for 1, and so on and so forth, going all the way up through hand slot 15. The draw button just tells the game class that the player wants to draw. And the hand slot button tells the game class, or actually, the hand slot button will pull up a pop-up menu and let the pop-up menu know what it needs to know to then be able to tell the game class that the player is playing a card. Inside the pop-up menu, it will show the card that they're trying to play, and then it has a confirm and cancel button. If they click confirm, then it does some stuff to make sure that it does some stuff. If it's a wild card, if it's not a wild card, then it goes ahead and just does all of this stuff. Basically, telling the game class that it wants to submit the card. If it is a wild, then it'll pull up this wild card menu, which looks like this. And this one is pretty simple. It just goes through and, depending on which button they click, returns what the color should be over to the pop-up menu. Once that's been done, while all of those are doing their things inside the game class, this is where it has all of the different stuff that actually lets the game run. It has the start function, which goes ahead and initializes everything. It draws one from the deck, and that's actually what it returns at the end. It's just that card that it drew from the deck. If the card that it draws is a wild or a draw 2, and right here when it says wild, it's just saying the color is wild, so that could be a wild or a draw 4 wild. And then this is just specifying the draw 2 cards. Then it will rerun this function so that it doesn't return the wild or the draw 2. If it's not that, and if it is a skip, then it goes in and skips the first player. If it's a reverse, then it starts with that first player still, but has it already reversed to go to the other player. And that is all handled by these things. This is how the game knows. This is how it knows who the current player is. And this is how it flips the direction. And then it has all these different methods to just help it all run smoothly. And more of them. Now, there's this submit draw card. What it does is it checks to see if the deck is empty, and if it is, then it shuffles all the discards and clears them out. If that doesn't happen, then it just moves on. Then it will draw one using one of those methods from back up there, or it'll just do all this. Another method that it has is the submit player card, and that runs that way. Then there's the deck class and the Uno card class, and all those just have their individual methods and functions to help them run the way they need to. To show how it all works, we can just go ahead and run it over here. It pulls up, click play, add names.
I took my pictures the other day, it was so sad. I have two little things I can't get out of the wall either. Oh jeez. So I asked Abby for it.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. All you have to do is sign the paper?
I don't know.
What? What if all the doors here just shut?
And then you have all those names in. We start moving on. First card drawn was a yellow 4, so I could play a yellow 8, or I can draw. Drew a card. And then Devin's turn. He can play a yellow 6. Let's say we do play at that time. Isaiah, if he tries to play a green 1, it'll let them know that it wants a yellow or a 6, but it got a green 1, so it's like, no, that doesn't work. Then it also actually over here will throw an exception, letting the program know that wasn't allowed. This is what happened. Back over here, then there's the yellow skip. Oh, and Brian's been skipped. And then it's back to Jacob's turn. And he can play that yellow 8 that he has. And then Devin can play a green 8. Then back to Isaiah's turn. He can play a wild 4. And like I showed earlier, it comes up with this handy menu to pick what color you want it to turn to. Let's say red. And that's pretty much it. You can keep drawing more cards. And that's basically the whole game. Thank you.